Hi everyone, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending which side of the world you are in. Welcome to this episode of Livin Farms Misplaced series. This is for those of you that have followed us before the sixth episode, and we're really excited today to be joined by Michelle Lau, who is the founder of Nutrilicious. Hi Michelle, welcome.
Hi everyone, wherever you are in the world.
Thank you so much for joining us with this very positive energy. It's great to have you. I'll just steal the screen another minute just to, tell our audience a little bit more about you. So Michelle is a registered dietitian and she's the founder of Nutrilicious. She is an expert consultant and she made it her mission to motivate people to eat whole, train smart, and live full. So she has expertise and experience in science-based nutrition and education. And she will help us today dive into sustainable food benefits, not only for the planet, but also for our own health. And so without further ado, Michelle, I'll pass it on to you to tell us your story and why we should eat sustainable for our own health. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in. I hope everyone is well and eating well for the health of themselves and our planet, of course. So let me introduce myself. Yes, this is me, since you probably can't very see or get a good picture of myself here in the visual, in the streaming. So this is a picture of me normally. So I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist, a chef. I love cooking, I love to eat. And of course, I'm also an educator. We educate and of course inspire people to eat their way to healthier and happier life. And I'm also a foodie because food really brings joy to people and it draws people together. So just a quick note on Nutrilicious, and in case you guys wonder, it means nutritious and delicious, and we are a nutrition consultancy and communications company that aims to inspire and educate people around the world to eat healthier and live happier. And our services is very diverse, so we hope to bring more and more nutrition tips and sustainable eating, dietary habits, behavioral changes, information to everyone around the world. So of course, today we're going to talk about the linkage between nutrition and a sustainable food system. And this diagram or this picture, it highlights different driving forces that's shaping today's future food systems. And one particular area that I want to draw your attention to is, of course, the evolving consumption preferences and also the nutrition and health aspects of it, because there's of course a growing demand for convenience and animal protein and foods that's away from home. And of course we know food has the power to either create health or promote disease, and 6 of the top 11 global diseases factors are linked to poor diets. So clearly our diet has a great impact on not just our health, but also the entire food systems. And the other contributing factors that are shaping the food systems are, of course, the rapid technological changes and innovation. As you can see, Livin Farms is also driving change in the food system, creating sustainable protein sources that will help us, our future generations, eat healthier and live more sustainably. And all the other forces you see on these pictures will also contribute. And this slide shows the greenhouse gas emission in our food system. As you can see, it appears and is influenced from end to end, so from production to consumption. And in case you guys don't know or are not aware, over 2/3 our world populations are destined to live and eat in the urban areas by 2050. And it's already affecting us, of course, as you can see with the climate change and all the different issues that are popping up recently. So this carries tremendous implications for our food systems, and of course calls for our collective efforts to meet the food demands of this rapid urbanizing planet. So our current food systems are damaging the planet, and as you can see, from top down to bottom and up, from farm to fork, so farm to table or farm to fork, to waste. Each stage has its environmental impacts. So farming and the manufacturing processes and the way that we eat, so how we feed ourselves and our families, and also the disposal of our food are damaging our planet at the moment. So food choices that we as healthcare professionals that are recommending to the public, to our clients, to different groups will have a direct impact on sustainability. So it can no longer be simply be on the impact of just food on the health outcomes, but we also have to consider our environment. So as nutrition experts in the field, we have to deliver, of course, science-based information to different population groups, and we feel strongly that we should be contributing to this conversation, of course, amongst also other experts in the field, to educate our community to contribute to a healthier food system that won't damage our planet. So you can see in this picture that currently these are all the damages that are being done to our planet by the food system, soil degradation, water use, loss of biodiversity, and of course food production is a big contributor of our global greenhouse gas emissions. So say for degradation of soil, suitable soil is of course essential for growing healthy and nutritious produce, and also for production of adequate food supply for the planet and for various populations around the world. And water, it might be readily available, of course, for us in Hong Kong and in a lot of developed nations, but is considered a luxury in a lot of underprivileged countries or underdeveloped countries. So, and not only that, of course, water supply for irrigation is needed to support crop growth. And this is also impacted by rainfall and other infrastructure that's competing demands from non-agriculturals. So we have to look at the issues. We should really look at all these factors that are damaging the planet, and are of course driven by our the infrastructures of our food systems. So what are sustainable diets? I think, of course, we all have our own definitions. And of course, going plant-based is a first step into adopting a sustainable diet. And there's no consensus, of course, for what a sustainable diet is. And but for us, sustainability as a whole is determined by three key pillars: the economic, the social, and environmental pillar. And all of these three are very important. At Nutrilicious, we are always focused on the economic and also social factors, and with the environmental pillars in the back of my mind, because this is also will contribute to our future, I should say. So when we refer to sustainability in our recommendation, we base our recommendation based on these three pillars. And in terms of what environmentally sustainable diet is defined, of course, there's a definition that is recommended by the FAO in 2010, and it says sustainable diets are those diets with low environmental impacts, which contribute to food and nutrition security and to healthy life for current and future generations. And sustainable diets are protective and respectful of biodiversity and ecosystem. It has to be culturally acceptable, accessible, economically fair, and affordable. And it also highlighted nutritionally adequate. Of course, that's very important. Safe and healthy, while optimizing natural and human resources, because our friends, animals, plants, and us as humans, we coexist, and we should build a healthy ecosystem for every habitat residing on this planet. So this is a sustainability assessment by an agency. I can share which agency later, but this is something that we have found during reading some reports. So these are just average values based on combination of data sets around the world. So it will vary by different country, but this is more based on the European countries. So as you can see, meat has the meat sources, or fish, dairy has the greatest contributing to the greenhouse gas emissions. So comes to the dietary recommendations for sustainable diets. So eat method recommendation. I don't know if some of you have seen this plate or chart. So EAT is published. This is published in 2019, quite recently, and this is one of the reports, or one of the biggest studies into sustainable diets in recent years. And this report, or this agency is made up of 37 experts from 16 countries across different disciplines. So this is quite a credible source. And but currently this recommendation is not incorporated into our local Hong Kong dietary guidelines. But as you can see, half of the plate, so you can visualize this as a plate, should be filled with plant-based foods, fruits and vegetables, and the other with whole grains, some starchy vegetables, and a small amount of meat. It doesn't say we should get rid of meat completely, but for protein sources, of course, we can also rely on getting it from nuts and seeds, tofu, and other plant-based alternative protein source. So this report's also recommend that global consumption of fruits, vegetables, nuts, legumes will have to double, and also consumption of foods such as red meat and sugar will have to be reduced by at least 50%, which we are also aligned with. So these are some of the sustainable dietary recommendations. Of course, eat less red meat and no processed meat as much as possible. And for plant proteins, you can get it from, say, soy and also other protein sources. And for seafood, try to get it from a sustainably source. You can find a lot of different seafoods with sustainable certifications on the packaging. You can try to look for those options to include in your diet. And of course, reduce food waste, because household waste is a big issue, and perishable fruits and vegetables make up majority of even local household waste, and also contribute to the greenhouse gas emissions. So be mindful of your food purchasing pattern, and also, of course, of your consumption pattern. So these are our dietary recommendations for plant protein sources. Although they might be slightly lower in the protein quality in some plant-based foods, but you can still get your sufficient amount of protein by eating a well-balanced diet. And currently, Hong Kong populations in general do consume enough protein in their diet, so we should not be worried about not getting enough proteins. So as you can see, these sources of plant proteins are very nutritious, and they're comparable to meat protein sources. And calcium is often a concern for vegetarians or vegan, and it appears to be lower intake in females in Hong Kong. And if us females are not getting enough calcium, we might be at higher risk of osteoporosis in later life. So we of course can consume dairy, but if this is not an option and we want to be more sustainable, of course we can also get it from plant sources, such as fortified plant milk is readily available in the market. We can also get it from vegetables and fruits, and all these options you see on the screen. And iron is also a nutrient of concerns, because iron from plant-based sources is less available or absorbable to our body. But of course, we can also get enough by eating, say, wholemeal breads, fortified cereals, nuts, and also green leafy vegetables. So we don't have to worry too much about it. And vitamin B12, this is a major concern for some vegan, because this nutrient can only be found in meat foods. So if you're vegan, this might be more of a concern for you, but you can of course still get it from fortified foods and also nutritionists. But for any supplementation, I would advise, of course, seeking a healthcare professional's advice before taking any supplementations. So this wraps up my little presentation for today, and I would like to share with you one of my favorite quotes, which is "Eat fruits, not too much, mostly plants." And this is a famous quote by one of a famous writer and also professors, Michael Pollan, and it sums up what we believe in, which is going on a plant-based diet, which is of course better for our health and the planet.
Thank you so much, Michelle. That was so great. A lot of learnings, of course, and I think it was great to go through, like the definition of a sustainable diet. It has so much packed into it, such as contributing to food security as well, and making sure that it gives access to healthy food to not only the present generation, but also the future. I think these are themes that are very important. And it was really useful to break it down by those nutrients like protein, calcium, iron, and vitamin B12. That's great stuff. So I'm sure that a lot of people is going to come back to this video to check your guidelines and apply them really. So thanks. And I'm going to make sure to also monitor questions from the audience. So this is the moment in which I encourage you guys that are watching to please submit your questions, and our team will pass them on to us, and Michelle will be, I'm sure, more than happy to address them. In the meantime, I have a couple of questions that I sort of like prepared for you here ahead of this, and some more that came up while I was looking at your presentation. But so as a dietitian, right, as a nutritionist, as an expert, I always wonder if you ever go out for lunch or for dinner with your friends and like sort of like cringe at the food choices that they make and think, oh God, they need an intervention. And also, like, I guess that leads me to the next question. Changing eating habits, it's a struggle for everyone, right? And I wonder if you ever encounter people that don't respond well to recommendations, a little bit like when you go up to a smoker and say smoking is bad, right? You go up to a meat eater and go like, oh, you should reduce meat eating. Is it effective? And what is effective actually? What gets people to turn and change their eating habits?
I mean, there's no one size fits all diet recommendation, and we are all different. We have different body composition, different lifestyles, and I'm of course, non-diet dietitian, meaning that I don't advocate one diet over another, nor do I recommend friends, clients, or anyone to subscribe to one type of diet, because our body changes over time, and not day by day, but over time during different life stages, and so are our nutrient needs. But of course, one thing that I often steer people away from is of course fat diets, crash diets, all these unsustainable diets that will promote quick weight loss, often results, and often are not backed by science. So these are diets that we should try to steer away from, and because there's no quick weight loss pills or foods, it's only through a consumption of healthy fresh fruits, vegetables, whole grains, plant-based protein or lean proteins, and a moderate amount of fats. Fat is not evil, it's not bad. Consumption of good amount of healthy fats is important for our bodies. We need it for hormones, for protection of our organs. So I would, of course, recommend you all who are tuning in now to eat a well-balanced diet to keep yourself healthy and happy.
Thanks. Yeah, that's definitely a good recommendation, and it kind of how to say, it matches what has been said last week by Poonam Chopra. She also mentioned, like, we're probably not going to have the same diet or the same type of nutrition throughout our whole life. So I guess the message here is try to listen to your body and see what sits well with you in the long run, right? And makes you happy and healthy in the long run. Awesome. Thanks for that. So talking about eating sustainably, right? And for example, favoring vegetables and fruits over animal proteins and grains over animal proteins and the like. What I think is very interesting nowadays is how it's almost an issue that brings up two things: a return to cultural tradition and food tradition, so more simple and traditional foods, but at the same time, technology and food innovation plays an immense role, right? So who wins in this battle, or what do you think is important to take away from both, right? Is the traditional food culture the way to eat sustainably, or is the food innovation the way to go?
I think both are important. We cannot take away one or the other. And everyone has a role to play, whether it is us as individual or businesses or the industry or technology. And of course, food technology is a way to accelerate, say, food production and also availability of food in solving some of the imminent food crisis that we're facing, and the rapid urbanization of of the world, and also the population growth that will be growing very rapidly. And because by I think 2050 we will have more than 9 billion people, and with the damaging that we, or maybe not we, I shouldn't say we, that is done to the planet at the moment, we need some solutions, and smart solutions, maybe food tech solutions that will help solve some of the problems that are coming to our way.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely agree that technology has a very important role to play here. And I think the two things we can learn from traditional food culture and bring it back into technology and re-innovate. Like we see that with edible insects, for example, right? We implement innovations, but also a lot of edible insects comes from tradition as well. All right, I have one last question for you, and then we have a couple of questions from the audience. So I'll make sure to address them. There's so we know that it takes a long time, right, to make a big size of the population, and such a big population unlearn unsustainable and unhealthy eating habits. But in the meantime, we don't have time. Like the climate crisis is right there, is looming, and the focus usually when we talk about sustainability and climate crisis tends to be on industrial fossil fuel use, for example. And so I feel like often people think that what they eat does not make much of an impact. So what is your argument, so to say, your way of convincing people to prioritize nutrition as a sustainability choice beyond, healthy and being fit?
I mean, as I think, as I also mentioned briefly in my presentation, and we know that poor nutrition is the root cause of a host of health conditions, and by now we know it depresses our immune system, which is very crucial at this time during the pandemic, and food production, and especially producing or feeding meat or animal feed is a big contributor of greenhouse gas emissions. So is also food waste. So what we choose to eat not only affects our health, but of course on our planet. So we should choose our food wisely, and try to incorporate more plant-based options in our everyday diets, because we have been focused too much on the production to meet maybe the global food needs and the rising needs of not just plant-based foods, but also meat proteins. A lot of people still favor meat proteins, I must say. But it's impossible for us to produce 50% more food to feed the 9 billion people in 2050. So we need to start now, today, right after this presentation, that we should be choosing more plant-based options in our everyday diets for the sake of ourselves and also the planet.
For sure. Yeah, hopefully by leaving this episode, people will feel, inspired. I have a question from the audience that is related to Hong Kong. Kushbu is asking, what do you think the future of plant-based foods and plant-based diets will be in Hong Kong?
The future of plant-based food and diet in Hong Kong will, as we can already see, that there are a lot more restaurants offering, even fast food restaurants offering plant-based options. So whenever there's a supply, of course, there's a demand. So I would say, of course, there will be maybe how can I say, it can be, of course, some might become from just natural food, natural plant-based food sources, but other will be, say, meat or protein alternative food options that are derived from cell, from other sources, or even from possibly 3D printing in the future. And people are of course more so hopping onto the plant-based diet wagon, because we know that this is a healthier dietary pattern for all by now. And I hope to see more and more options available in the Hong Kong markets, because I still hear some people commenting or maybe complaining that it's hard to find plant-based options or vegan foods currently in the market.
Yeah,
and hopefully with more choices available, the prices of plant-based foods will also go down.
Yeah. Yeah, that is another conversation.
I hope this answers your questions.
Yes, I think so. Kushbu can let us know in the comments if that's enough of a question. And yeah, thanks for that. A lot of it, again, relates with conversations that we had before about, vegan and plant-based food being actually affordable and also organic food. So we're hoping that the more we demand for this kind of food, the more Kushbu is thanking you. The more we'll see supply, and so prices will go down. I'm actually really excited to see here in Hong Kong how much more plant-based is coming up, and how many more meat alternatives as well. I moved here 7 years ago. It was definitely not like this, so it's been a quite quick change, and it's really exciting to see it. Okay, well,
Yes.
Thank you so much, Michelle. We really appreciate.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for coming, and we really appreciate your presentation and all your expert insights. And we're hoping to see you soon again with Livin Farms in some other episodes of ours. Yes, like my team members are reminding us here, do not forget to fill out our feedback form, so you have the opportunity to win $150 to spend on our web shop. And I want to remind you also to tune in next week for the next episode number 7, on the culinary art of edible insects with Nicole Sartirani from Berlin. Perfect. So thank you so much, everyone. Thanks again, Michelle. It was lovely chatting with you. And I'll see everyone again next week.